Let's see how to develop on a remote computer using Visual Studio Code. So I have here Visual Studio Code open, and all we need to do is click here on this icon, the one with the two arrows facing each other. So open Remote window, and here I'm going to choose SSH because remote development on Visual Studio Code is based on SSH. It's now installing the extension, and now we need to configure SSH hosts. So let's choose this option. And as you can see, there are two files that you can use for this configuration. I always use the first one, .ssh config. And here we need to provide the details for the server that we want to connect to. So first we need to provide an alias for the host. This is just a name that will be used to identify it from the list. Let's call it, as an example, remote dev 1. Then we need to provide the host name. And this is the IP address of the remote server. Now for me, the remote server is going to be a Linux virtual machine, but it can be any other remote server that supports SSH. You can, for example, write here the IP address of a hosting provider VPS. In my case, since this is a virtual machine, let's find the IP address of the server. So let me open my virtual machine, and here it is. And I'm going to run IP-BRA. And here we can see the IP address, 192.168.1.33, and this is what I'm going to write here for my host name. We then need to provide the user, and once again, looking at the virtual machine, we can see here the name of my user on this virtual machine, so this is what I'm going to write here. And once we are done with that, we can save this file and close it, and now we can click again on the remote development icon, and again I'm going to connect to host, and now we can see the server that we configured on the list. We need to choose it, and it's now connecting to the server. We need to specify the operating system of the remote server. In my case, it's going to be Linux. Then we need to provide the password for the user that we chose. So let me type it in, and it's now installing the Visual Studio Code server on the remote machine. And as you can see, it might take a while the first time you connect to a new server, but luckily this is a process that only needs to be done once. The next time we'll try to connect to the same server, it will be much quicker. And after the download of Visual Studio Code to the server is complete, we now connected to the server from here, directly from Visual Studio Code. Here at the bottom left, we can see that it now says SSH, and then the name of the remote machine that we are connected to. And everything is now on the remote server. So for example, if I try to open a folder, I can see the file system of the remote server. If I open the terminal, I can see the Linux terminal from the remote server, and so on.